what Africa's giving up in return.
Appears to be working. China has leveraged its influence across the continent with these enormous gifts, surpassing Britain, France, and the US as Africa's leading foreign business partner. We spoke with Dr. Paul Tembe, a China studies analyst, about the broader implications of this phenomenon. What is the kind of scale that we're looking at when it comes to China's presence in Africa?
Economically, it's huge. Investment, development of infrastructures, extraction of resources. But when China started engaging Africa, it came into an Africa which already had relations with the West. So China had to discover weak points or business gaps.
What about politically and socially?
The two are intertwined, actually. For example, if we take traditional financial institutions like IMF, the World Bank, when they invest, they have prerequisites. They tend to be political on how Africa should govern its own territory. China doesn't have those prerequisites. That is stemming from their foreign policy of non-interference. China has become visible and very practical wherever they go. You can see it on the ground immediately.
This type of pro-Chinese influence you see all across Africa. Especially in the Congo. In Kinshasa, the Chinese-sponsored development is happening everywhere. Moise Akanga, one of the country's main negotiators with the Chinese, showed us around.
Vous avez le Palais du Peuple. Vous avez le boulevard triomphal qui a été reconstruit par les Chinois.
This is like a mini Tiananmen Square.
Yeah. Voilà, ça c'est l'hôpital du Cinquantenaire. Il n'y a pas un hôpital aussi équipé et construit en Afrique centrale comme celui-là. C'est ainsi que vous voyez qu'il y a un boom immobilier. Les Chinois qui gagnent ce marché, et ils réalisent ces ouvrages à moindre coût.
So this is the project of building almost 1,000 houses.
And the project is funded by
a Chinese company, Zhongwei.
而且你的中文怎么样？
我的中文挺好。
那这么好。
是。
How much of the city is built by the Chinese?
Since 2009, it's almost 70% of building by the Chinese.
70%? That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Much of this infrastructure was funded by the $6.2 billion trade contract that was originally signed by the two governments in 2008.
Nous avons inauguré un partenariat stratégique. Nous avons constitué une joint venture. La Sycomine dispose des ressources naturelles pour leur industrie en Chine. Et les ressources, nous payons la dette sur les infrastructures et sur les projets miniers.
One of the things that the West sees is that China and the DRC are becoming closer and closer. And with that, China gets more and more power and more say over the potential politics and the direction of the country. What do you say to that?
La différence entre la Chine et les autres pays, c'est qu'avec la Chine, on ne parle pas politique. Avec la Chine, nous parlons développement.
Can we get a tour of Siko mines through you? I think you're able to arrange that for us, right?
Yes, we will do it.
Excellent. We're at the Siko Mines mine in Kolwezi, which is the biggest infrastructure for resources deal that this country's ever seen. And the scale of this is insanely huge. There are about 3,000 workers working here. They've only just started production last week, but things are well underway here. And there's a lot of Chinese people following us with cameras, scrutinizing our every move. Hi, ni hao. We're told by Mr. Moise Akanga that we had full access to this mine, and we thought we could interview the people here and talk about the deal, and it turns out that now we've got here, no one wants to go on camera to actually answer any specific questions. To find out why the Chinese workers might be hesitant to talk about CIECO mines, we met with the former Speaker of Congo's Assembly, Vital Kamerhe.
10 minerais du Congo représentent 24 000 milliards de dollars américains. Il dit que ces ressources-là appartiennent au peuple congolais.
Does the average Congolese person benefit at all from this deal?
Non, absolument pas. Notre gouvernement se comporte comme un affairiste. Il signe le contrat avec la Chine, on donne pas de porte, tous les marchés sont donnés automatiquement aux Chinois. En tout cas, pour les postes importants, ce sont les Chinois qui occupent les postes importants. Puisque si on veut parler des Congolais moyens, vous voyez que ces gens vivent avec moins de $2 par jour. Il n'appartient pas aux Chinois de dire à la République démocratique du Congo ce qu'il faut faire et où. Ça, c'est la tâche du gouvernement de la République démocratique du Congo. C'est là le problème.
Contracts like the CIECO mines deal have spurred an enormous wave of Chinese investment across the continent. In the DRC, Chinese entrepreneurs are rapidly gaining ground in the mining industry. 在这里有很多中国人吗？
当然了，基本上都90%的都是中国人。
Most of these Chinese businessmen are wary of Western press. But we did find one who was happy to open up. We are in a golf course in Congo, and I'm about to play my first game of golf ever with Mr. Tang and his friend, both of whom are Chinese entrepreneurs. I believe this is called a driver. Just practicing.
Yeah. It's not so easy, huh? Don't force yourself. Focus. Relax. Okay, it's good.
How's life for you living out here?
Yeah, life is good. Life.
And what did you think when you first moved here? What were your impressions?
How to say it? Free. Very, very free country. 你要是在国内任何一家公司工作的话，可能都是需要一个 team 要商量要听，但是一旦你作为一家公司派到非洲来了之后，公司就靠你了，就是你的了。
Olivia Tang is the owner of Datang Steel, a company that specializes in making steel balls to pulverize raw ore.
我们工厂的话，中国人大概有10个人，然后刚方员工的话有100号人。
Can I ask how much you pay your Congolese workers?
炉钳工的话，因为他的工作比较辛苦，而且在很高温的状态下，他一般来说的话，他们的工资都是在350到500块钱之间看工龄。然后别的工人的话，大概也都在300块钱或者280块钱左右。
Is it easy to find people to come and work for that salary?
Easy， 卡松没有别的工业。
Critics have argued that the low wages Chinese companies pay are part of a broader pattern of labor exploitation. We met with a former employee of CDM, one of the biggest Chinese smelting firms in the Congo.
Moi, j'étais fondeur, température à 1600 degrés. Et puis, il est ma guêtre, baranza uleta. Aikukui guêtre iko approprié ya kutumika nayo kumoto ya ile degré. Comme exemple ni na blurure hapa metal irulukaka inaningia ifashi.
What was the Chinese manager's reaction when you got these burns?
Il m'avait toujours obligé à kuingia nianze tumika. Si bo wenye waanzo semaka kama unachoka unaacha kazi tutabeba mwingine anakuwa anatumika. Mule ni esclavagisme, haina kazi. C'est comme si le gouvernement nous a amenés encore et nous a fait nous recoloniser encore.
CDM didn't respond to our request for comment, but human rights groups have uncovered additional claims of abuse from company workers, including low pay, safety neglect, and physical abuse. A number of protests and strikes over issues like these have sprung up all over Africa, several of which have ended in violence. But that hasn't stopped the stunning pace of economic growth here. China has taken advantage of this growth by diversifying its interests into all sectors of the economy. And as cities like Nairobi solidify their positions as global capitals, it's Chinese companies that are there to help them build.
Why do you think that the Kenyan government chooses Chinese companies to build these kind of buildings?
我觉得中国企业在效率这块确实效率还是比较高的。
他非洲年飞机的这么全面，我们中国人给他搞的是吧？哪有什么技术？像学上、医院什么等等，还有水库、发电站，这样我们的公路，当地政府的钱的。
The centerpiece of the Kenyan development boom is the new standard gauge railway, which will run from the port city of Mombasa to the capital.
In the history of the country of Kenya, this is the biggest ever project that we have had. Currently, the project employs approximately 25,000 Kenyans.
How much is this project costing?
327 billion Kenya shillings. 90% of that is coming from the Export-Import Bank of China.
How big is that in the history of Kenyan loans?
It is the biggest.
Who is actually going to pay for that?
We as a country are going to eventually pay for this.
And do you think that's fair?
Fair to who?
To the Kenyans?
This is a third world country. And so what Kenyans needed was the project. And this is what they got.
But the terms of Kenya's deal with China have come in for harsh criticism from economists like David Ndii.
The standard gauge railway is a bad investment because it's very expensive. Already, we have borrowed $3.6 billion, given Chinese-type lending terms. This will work out to paying $300 million a year. It's a huge amount of money for this country. I think a default is a real possibility. What does China get? These things are being built by Chinese companies using Chinese materials, Then they're financing it, so they're lending us money. So we're then going to pay back the money at interest. It's stock credit.
And even though the growth of the Chinese economy has slowed, its commitment to Africa has not wavered.
中方决定提供总额600亿美元的资金支持。
President Xi Jinping announced that China would triple his country's investment in Africa to $60 billion.
The biggest project at the moment is One Belt, One Road, railroads and maritime connections going from China to all capital cities of Africa. It's a manner of extending capital across the world.
And that's exactly what China is doing, as its foreign investment model and its influence are quickly spreading around the world.
So if China continues with its non-interference policy, surely it's propping up corrupt governments throughout Africa.
The definition of a corrupt government is according to which social system. Africa's political systems have been inherited from the West. And that Western political system is not functioning for Africa.
There is no doubt that the rise of China and Africa, a country which never was our colonizer, will have a far-reaching impact in international relations. Long live the Africa-China cooperation.
What is Africa's significance when it comes to the West versus the East and the battle for ideologies?
There has been a change in the voting in the General Assembly because African countries tend to side with China. It plays into the formation of the new world domino or new world system.
China is not a democratic country. Do you see that as playing out to be more of an issue in the future of Africa?
I think that we're starting to see the shifts in the values of democracy. And that battle for democracy is being fought now in Africa.